Welcome everyone. My name is Sierra Ladroma. I am the project manager for the Iowa Center's Women's Business Center. The Iowa Center's Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. It's incredible to be able to bring inspiring entrepreneurs, workshops, and events to the community. All of you would have received an email with the form to complete. Please do so after this event. This information allows us to continue providing free educational programming for small business owners in Iowa. Throughout the webinar, feel free to use the chat option to ask questions or add comments. Today's conversation is with Keisha Ward. Keisha is an entrepreneur and advocate for racial justice. Keisha is the owner and photographer of Ward Creative Studios and the creator of Vegan Knees. She has a decade of experience working in higher education in Iowa and has served in areas of family services, diversity, equity and inclusion, and business development. Keisha, thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to share a little bit about you?
Sure. Just as Sierra said, my name is Keisha Ward. Not only am I a business owner, but I also have a Monday through Friday on top of the businesses that I have. My background is varied. I've been in higher education for about a decade now. And so right now I'm currently working at Drake University, an assistant director of alumni relations overseeing the Central Iowa programming. And so with that comes along Ward Creative Studios, which is a photography business where my specialty is engagement, wedding, maternity, newborn, and family sessions. And so I absolutely love the work that I do. I love being behind the camera, love capturing those moments. And so to add to that, I am also the creator of Vegan Knees, which is a brand and a community that's based around living a plant-based lifestyle. And so I am currently in the middle of growing that in presenting myself as a consultant and coach under the brand of Vegan Knees. And so I absolutely, it's changed my life. I'll say that, it's changed my life, it's changed my body. And so I'm really happy to be here today, like I said, with a varied background in supportive of equity, diversity, inclusion, and all the work that I do, no matter where I am, that's something that I'm always pushing forward.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So today's style of webinar is going to be a conversation, and that's something that you and I love. Yes. So we're just going to continue the conversation we've been having. So my first question, I guess, is why is it important to talk about supporting Black-owned businesses and the people or the person behind them?
So first, I want to preface, I like to do this because even when we're expert in our areas that we're discussing, that we're giving presentations on, it doesn't always mean that we know everything, right? So even as a Black person, as a Black business owner, I am still constantly doing homework on my end. So I want to preface to say I do not know everything. If there's something that I don't know, I will be sure to get you that information.
Absolutely.
And so to just jump into that, in supporting, I first want to say that I know that many, specifically white Americans, they're in this period of reevaluation, right? So even though this isn't new to us, you know, it's been 400 plus years, this isn't new to us with the most recent events, with the ability to have access to video, right? We're seeing these things more, access to social media. Folks are really starting to reevaluate the space that they're in, how they're interacting, in particular with Black folks. And so, you know, white Americans are trying to figure out what's my role in perpetuating systemic, you know, anti-Black racism, and what's some of that action that we can take. And so that leads me, you know, directly into your question of supporting Black businesses, right? And so the importance of it. And when you think about it, first, the data we have, I'm going to specifically speak to Iowa, since this is where we are. Sierra, me and you talk, the data is 2012 old.
It's old. Yeah.
It's old, right? And trying to identify the number or percentage of Black-owned businesses across Iowa today. And so those, a lot of those businesses no longer exist. You have new ones that are constantly coming up off the ground. And so what we do know is that approximately 1% of all small businesses across Iowa, only 1% are made up of Black entrepreneurs. Significantly low number, but you probably wouldn't have guessed it if you've been seeing the graphics that are flowing around of all the Black-owned businesses, especially in the area. But think of it in a way of strengthening and helping to strengthen the Black community. We know this as the Black community, that's significant, but it's something that we have to make clear to those who are white and non-Black folks, right? And so we think of it in advancing us forward in a system that has been built to keep us down and from advancing, right? So we can sit and talk about the past all we want, but it is still happening today. And so it just helps with closing that racial gap. And that is a true thing that people, specifically white people, don't realize it exists. And sometimes when we're putting that forward of, yes, it exists, it's like, wait, no, how? And we talk about the history, the origin of the Jim Crow era and the practices, right, that were happening then, from job discrimination and our inability to have that home ownership, right? All of these affect, wealth building within the Black community. And so even though, we talk about the Jim Crow era, that is still happening today. And so just because it's not constantly in front of us, all the time, or it's, when it doesn't affect us, right? When it doesn't affect us, it's not something that we even care to pay attention to sometimes until it directly affects us.
Yeah.
And
when you're talking about the 1%, I do want to share the numbers that we did find. So in the state of Iowa, there are currently around 200,000 small businesses. And back in 2012, so that's the most updated number right now, there were around almost 5,000 of those businesses are Black owned. So, and we don't know now if there are more to support and to get to know, or if there are less. So yeah, I guess it comes down to a lot of things, but it really is, once people start supporting Black-owned businesses, we shine a light and we learn, and we also just get to support our economics, and also figure out where else can we go, so open our minds to, even when I was looking for a new photographer, I had shared this with you. I was like, oh, I wish I knew about Keisha. Now I do. So I'm so excited to schedule a shoot with you.
Yes, I am too.
July.
I am too.
Yeah. So as a Black business owner and owning 2 businesses in our community, which is amazing. Also, that's a lot with your full-time gig, and it's just, it's a lot of work being an entrepreneur. What has your experience been as a Black business owner in Des Moines and Iowa?
I think, we'll get to, I see that question that came through from Ellen. We'll get to that. We'll get to your question.
Yeah, you're making something really great.
Yes, we are working on something really, really, really great.
Yeah.
So as a Black business owner here, you'd be surprised of, we always have pockets. So no matter where we are, within cultures, within races, even within the Black culture, pockets of people, right? We all deal with that no matter where we are. But in the end, I think it's just been so before today, right? Before this past month, you know, it's been critical for us to help circulate the Black dollar, to help build wealth within our own communities. We talk about it all the time. We push for it all the time within our community. And I'm specifically talking to the Black community because about 90 to 95% of my clientele are Black. And so, at least for my photography business, 90 to 95% of my clientele are Black. And so it's starting to come to this realization now that we feel like we have more things at our fingertips, the access to things of, man, we like, not only do I want to build generational wealth with my own Black family, I want to also be a part of that, you know, help be a part of that with other Black owned businesses. And so the growth that has happened in Des Moines, my husband and I lived in Ames for 12 years before moving. We're out in West Des Moines now for the past 2 years. And I mean, things have just skyrocketed. You know, it's the Black community here is deep, you know, and I've felt that support, and obviously not just from you know, Black clients and friends, but just the visibility in general. I think, you know, through social media, word of mouth, and things like that, and my constant posting, which is necessary, right?
It's absolutely
to get
necessary.
noticed. And
Yeah,
so as a
you're
Black
being
owned business,
seen.
yeah, and so it's been amazing. And I think even real quick, going into veganese, you know, so that's talking specifically about the photography business. Going into veganese, I see that also being a higher percentage of Black clientele, because now we see the data of more Black Americans are shifting to a plant-based or vegan diet to combat health issues that are burdens of, you know, just specifically for Black people, that we have higher instances of. And so we're seeing more of that shift within the Black community alone. And so to be able to come in and help coach through and be a part of that is amazing. And so the growth of veganese is going to be phenomenal. So yeah, and also in helping, part of that will be with restaurants, and because the vegan community in general is growing, to come in
Absolutely.
and consult on ways that you can incorporate vegan items on your menu. So that alone, because we have to be up with the times, and everybody's
always.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I guess the following question would be, so experience has been okay, but there's always room, right? So how would you say that you support fellow Black owned businesses and just small business as well?
Yeah, so I think about it in a way that not every business fits our needs, our personal needs, right? So when I see, for instance, these graphics that are floating around, and oh my gosh, so many Black-owned businesses for restaurants, catering, meal prep, all of these, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And for me, from what I've noticed, you know, the only Black-owned food option I have is Veggie Thumper.
I have seen you comment, is this vegan?
Yes. Yeah. So in the Shop Black Des Moines group, I'm always coming in, even the popcorn, right? I'm coming in posh for popcorn. I'm coming in, it's like, hey, is it vegan friendly? Even when I recognize—
What did they answer? Is it?
No, so it's not vegan. None of their popcorn is vegan friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but I've heard fantastic things about it, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll get some. I'll let you know.
Thank you. Just I'll live through you. So as you know, as I'm recognizing that, you know, I can't eat at these places, but that's okay, because as we think about supporting these businesses, it's not always just about you walking in, buying something for yourself, right? There are gift card purchases. You can go in and make a purchase for, a friend. Maybe you're having a contest. Like I did with Veganese, I had a contest for a gift card, and it's not even add more to it. It's sharing, it's word of mouth. I mean, I tell folks about Wings on Wheels all the time, but I can't eat anything there, right? I'm like, Wings on Wheels, go there. That's what you're looking for. I heard it is fantastic. Go
it
there.
Is delicious.
So it is finding different in different ways of supporting. Is still, showing up when they have events. And that happens, right? A lot of times we also have events where vendors are present. Show up to any of their events that they're hosting. Share what they're posting on social media, reposting those things. Like I said, word of mouth. Spread the word, and you can still purchase through them via. I encourage businesses often to find ways of providing gift card options and things like that, so that we can continue to support, even if we don't personally need it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So for a quick wrap up for that, you do not have to be a paying customer to purchase a product or anything like that. There are so many ways to support a Black-owned business. So that could even be writing a review based on just what you see and what others have said. It could be purchasing a gift card, clicking share on any of your social media. It takes probably, I think, 2 clicks, right? So share, post.
Yep, share and post.
It is. You can also add a little caption. You can like photos. There's just so many ways to support a Black-owned business or any small business without actually purchasing a product. And exactly like you're vegan, so you can't buy the popcorn, but you've just told all of us.
Yes.
That Posh popcorn
go buy Posh
corn
in Des Moines.
Yep. We've talked about Wings on Wheels. Brilliant. Posh, and we've talked about there's another
Veggie
one.
Thumper.
Yes, Veggie Thumper.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of realizing the power you have in the voice, that you can just literally call someone up who has been looking for a restaurant and say, hey, actually try this out. So yeah, that was actually one of my questions, is what are some other supports that people can do? But we covered it. So that's it. If anyone has any other ideas of how to support a business without actually purchasing something, or if that product just doesn't work for you, go ahead and put it in the chat option so everyone can see it. So Keisha, you are a business owner for 2 businesses. As you get Veganese up and going, I guess I invite you to think about, once you started creating your photography business and now where you are with Veganese, what kind of resources did you use or did you need, maybe, that chances are there are a lot of entrepreneurs on this call who are also looking for similar supports. What advice do you have?
So first, I'll take just a baby step back of part of my background too is I come from also a business development background. I have my MBA. My husband, I also happen to be in a household with my husband who had a startup while he was in college and ran that. And so having this business mindset in general. And so, but we know that that is not always the case. We constantly tell Black-owned businesses that, you know how to do this thing? Start a business. It's only $50 to get your LLC through the state. Just go ahead and start it. And so we tell these businesses to start it, and that's it, right? So many go into this not realizing that you have to have submit a sales tax permit. just some of those things that you may not realize are supposed to align, right? What are some basic accounting software,
Exactly.
that pertains particularly to your business?
Mhm.
How do you market? What is customer service?
Mhm.
Like it's so much more than this is my craft and I know how to do it well. That's a small piece of it. The
Mhm.
bigger piece is running it as a business,
Right.
right? And so a really great resource that I've used, an online resource, is the Iowa Source Link.
Mhm.
IA Source Link. And so, I mean, everything from funding, what you should know to start before you start your business, things that you should know, the basics of the entities. Is it actually going to be an LLC? Is it going to be a sole proprietorship? And
And the
so
difference.
the difference
Yep.
between them.
Mhm.
Who truly knows the difference
Yeah.
between them when you've never had it's when
Mhm.
you haven't had to deal with that. How do you we don't know what we don't know. And
Exactly.
so there's that, the Financial Empowerment Center, the Iowa Economic Development Authority. I may have to just send you a list.
I'm gonna do a quick plug. The Iowa Center is a great spot to get your
Yep.
everything, really, to get started, and just
Yes.
education pieces.
Yes.
Um,
You're on my list too.
Good.
There are so
There's a
many
lot.
resources that we do not realize are
Mhm.
literally at our fingertips.
Yep.
And they are here to make sure that we're successful, not to just start it. They want to
Yeah.
make these organizations, including the Iowa Center for Economic Success, they want to make sure that your business is successful.
Right.
And so, yeah, so for me, it was, I still have the conversations with friends, that currently have businesses, that just have some of the basic questions of things that they didn't realize that they needed to have.
Yeah.
But sometimes, we get excited and
Mhm.
passionate about the work that we want to do,
Yes. Mhm.
that we have to remember to take that moment to do our homework.
Mhm. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll include a couple of those additional links as well for people
Yes, I
to
will send them to
um,
you.
get on that. They're creating their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I also have found that, and me personally, when I get excited about an idea, I want to do it. But
Yes,
oftentimes, it's
right?
really good to slow down and create something as difficult but equally um, important and hard and easy, I guess, all the things, as a
Mm-hmm.
business plan.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are rushing to the finish line of their first goal, but oftentimes we need to backtrack and create a
Yeah.
solid business plan um,
Mm-hmm.
before we launch. And some of
Yes,
those things
yes.
are marketing,
Mm-hmm.
accounting, and we talked earlier just the power of social media and using
Mm.
our communities. So something that you
Yeah.
do really well is use all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think maybe we can bring up again just how important it is to use social media as a Black-owned business owner.
Yeah. So, and thinking about it, your brand,
Mhm.
right? Understanding one as before you even launch your brand, your business, who is your audience? Who what are your services, your products, who are they geared towards? What are they geared towards? Right? And that's something that you have to think about as you begin your social media marketing, right? And so while you're just in the midst of it all, it comes down to the images that you portray, right? Think of I'll just throw an idea out. I'd like to throw some ideas out. You have a boutique, right? You have a clothing boutique and you're wanting to put yourself out there more. Maybe you feel like no one sees you, no one knows that you're here. You're doing everything that you can to pull those folks in, but you turn around and realize that your social media is lacking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when that happens,
Yeah.
and in thinking of the growth of that, it is putting content out there that makes sense and that would draw in your consumers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think of the education piece, right? Because we can do an entire webinar on just social media marketing, right? So
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
thinking
Agree.
of opportunities for the education piece, so for instance, I knew, even though I felt that I was doing fairly well, the social media side of things with my businesses, I attended a free Facebook event that was here in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
How I found out about it, I think it was a sponsored ad.
Yeah.
There we go, sponsored ads, folks.
Yep.
It was a sponsored ad through Facebook.
Yeah.
And they came in, they gave you the nitty gritty of utilizing Facebook and Instagram to its fullest potential when it comes to your business.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that they talk about is you have to be engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you feel you yourself personally, you're not engaging.
Yeah.
The content that you're putting out has to be engaging, and it has to be it still has to come down to what your clients want too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why for me, social media has been significant in my businesses. 95% of my business comes from social media.
Absolutely.
and it comes from constantly using hashtags, using a lot of hashtags that are relevant to your business, so that when people are searching, it comes to constantly putting the links of, if I'm posting on my Facebook, I want to have the link to my Instagram to send folks straight to Instagram, right?
Yeah.
I want to always include my website link.
Mm-hmm.
To send folks over there. You're wanting people to have as many touch points as they possibly can with you. You
Right.
want people to be sick of you.
Yeah.
They see it until they say, okay, I keep seeing this coming through here. Let me really check this out.
I called you earlier a star player in the Shop Black DSM group because, and honestly, that's how it should be. Really, as an entrepreneur, you want to get yourself out there to the extent where you don't think about, am I posting too much? It's more
Right.
of, am I posting the right thing?
Yes.
And so it's, I don't know, and like with your unique position as being a photographer, I simply had to, when I found out about you, I didn't even need to call you. I just looked at your work and I said, this is it. This is it. I enjoy her energy, I enjoy her vibe, and I enjoy her work. So I think that's sometimes what people are missing when it comes to realizing just how powerful online is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I want to say too, as I'm not sure if what your next question was, is I'm just flowing into something else. Did you? So as we start thinking about, I wanted to take a step back, Sierra, to you mentioned, how in supporting Black-owned businesses, what that looks like and things like that. And so we've noticed, especially across social media right now, that white and non-Black people of color have this urge right now to shop Black, right? And so, like I mentioned earlier, in trying to understand, in this reevaluation of where I am, my understanding of things. In addition to that, it hasn't just been, how can I shop Black? In the same breath, they've been saying, what can I do to support you? Number one, as a Black person, but number two, as a Black business owner. And so I I've really been loving, you know, seeing some of that dialogue of using those in the same breath. How can I support your business? But I also want to make sure I'm supporting you in the. I don't want to just come by from you. I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can right now to literally support Black lives.
Yeah.
And so in thinking about that, you know, one of the pieces to this conversation is education. You know, I talked about when I first started off, I said, you know, I'm going to preface this, even though I'm Black, even though I'm a Black business owner, I do not know everything. I still have to constantly educate myself. On Black issues, you know, staying in the know of what's currently happening historically. People don't realize that there are a lot of things that we don't know. And so, so when thinking of, you know, educating yourself about race and anti-Black racism and white supremacy really is the key to understanding and unlearning. And that's unlearning is a key word. Because you know, in the past I've worked with people where they came from smaller towns and what they knew of Black people was exactly what they saw on television. So that is their perception, right? And so that still falls into the line of wanting to support Black businesses. If I see in the news outlet, media outlets, that Black people, they're thugs, they're this, they're that, and that all of a sudden becomes my state of mind, then I'm not going to support Black-owned businesses. So these two really talk to each other of in general, how you can support Black lives. And that first piece is educating yourself. And so, and when we talk about educating, this is literally the bare minimum. So I want you all to realize that in educating yourself, this is the bare minimum. And so I want you all on this call to realize that it is not the responsibility of your Black colleagues, your Black friends, your Black family members, or acquaintances to teach, right? So it is not the expectation that because we're Black that we have to educate you. And so just as we all go out there, when we have a DIY project, you know, do-it-yourself project, what do? When we realize that there's something we want to do? This DIY project that's behind me, I went online, I did some research, and then I acted, right? So that's exactly what we're asking of white and non-Black people of color to do, is to act. And so, you know, in that, with it's not our job to educate, especially because it's our own oppression, right? With that, we want white people to acknowledge the privilege, right? The lack of access we have always had, the lack of rights that we've always had, right? And so because racism is systemic and it's historical.
Yeah. It's like finding that, as many people right now, and hopefully continued, honestly, continue to support Black-owned businesses. It's more than that. It is supporting the Black person. Supporting the Black community through education, but also realizing we have a lot of unlearning to do in order to fully support the full circle of a Black business. So this actually is a perfect transition into my next question.
Okay.
Let's say I was a small business owner, and I want to find a way to collaborate with you. But I want that to be seen as a way that's like respectful, tasteful, and not, I don't know, not like performative, you know? What are some key ways or key things that small business owners need to think about prior to reaching out to say, I would love to partner to support. So making sure like actions
Yes.
match intention, basically.
Yes. So it's interesting that you say that because I was just about to say how, I was just about to say for folks to take a moment right now to think about how are you, literally take a few seconds and just think, how are you supporting Black people right now? Just take a moment and think about that. And so before, because I was going to say before impulsively reaching out, whether it's to reach out to say, oh my gosh, I hate that this is happening. I'm sorry this is going on. Or even before you reach out to a Black owned business on a collaboration, before you impulsively reach out, think about the relationships that you have had with Black people, right? Think about that. What does the history of conversations, what has that looked like? Whether it's with an acquaintance, a stranger, someone you know, a Black owned business owner, are you, have you thought about, are you truly being supportive when you're reaching? I really want you to think about your intentions, and not just your intentions, but the words that you're using, right? To reflect on how are you gonna respond, and do you feel that you need to defend yourself if you don't get the response that you want? You know, I really want you to take a moment to think about that. Do you feel that you have to defend yourself if you reach out and you don't get the response you want? And so how can you, in not getting the response you want and sitting and reflecting on that, how can you still continue to support? Because we all know that, you know, for instance, I think of, I recently ran two contests, one, you know, sponsored by you, Sierra, but another one where that sponsor said, I only want these headshot sessions to go to Black entrepreneurs. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so think of yourself as a business reaching out to me in general and wanting to collab, or maybe asking questions about that. And I say, oh, sorry, this is particularly for Black entrepreneurs. What are your response when that may have not been the reaction that you were expecting, you know, from us? And so come in with good intentions. I'm telling y'all, the way that you word things are very important, because we know when there are good intentions behind what you're asking, what you're requesting, what you're wanting to do. We feel, we see, we hear the intent. And so as you're thinking about it, think about, you know, your goals of what that may look like, how it would be reflected on both of those businesses, that Black-owned business, Black-owned business, and your non-Black owned business. Mm-hmm. But I say, honestly, besides that, just reach out, right? Just take the initiative and say something, right? Because now we're really in a time where Black owned businesses are asking, how are you supporting Black lives? Mm-hmm. And how they support you, because now you may come to them and their response to you wanting to work together or collaborate is going to be, I want to know how you support Black lives. Now, Black owned people and Black owned businesses are asking, not only what are you doing to support Black lives, but I want to see what your staff looks like. I want to see what your board looks like, because that tells me where your priorities truly are. Mm-hmm. So to really think about a lot of that.
Your posts match your actions and your words.
Yes, it has. Yeah, it has to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one of the key things here is, if you are a small business owner, reaching out to a Black-owned business to collaborate in any sort of level. Reach out to the Black person, mm-hmm. and not the Black owned business with
Mm-hmm.
the intention to grow your own personal business,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actions
Mm-hmm.
have to equal intention and vice versa.
The questions are coming, y'all. So for any,
Yeah.
the questions are coming now more than ever. So for any non-Black owned business, start thinking right now about how you're operating your business right now. What are you doing? Because the questions are coming of how are you supporting Black lives? And so the general washed up political statements aren't flying very well right now, right? So it's no, we want to know, what are you doing? Now show me what are you doing?
Right.
Because this collaboration it doesn't just affect your business, it affects mine too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been a couple people asking where to
Yes.
access a list of Black-owned businesses. So screen is
Okay.
yours. Let them know.
Okay, everyone. So there have been a lot, many of you have seen a lot of graphics floating around on social media, particularly Facebook. I especially know because I've had a lot of people contact me because they thought I was the creator. I was not the creator of those lists that are floating around. It was actually a non-Black person of color who lives in Ames that created it. And so the project that I'm about to mention was actually already in the works before I was brought on. So Deidre DeGier called in and asked for me to serve as a consultant with this project with the Directors Council, with the assistance of the Financial Empowerment Center for the Black Iowa Business Directory. So yes, it is launching, guys, in just a couple of weeks. So it is going to be here. And so it is an online, it's not your average directory where you just have to constantly scroll through this long list, right? So this is, it's going to be your ability to have a search function, narrow things down to the business or the type of service that you're looking for. And so we are promoting heavily right now because people are wanting right now to know how can I support Black owned businesses. So the graphics that you've been seeing floating around, they just have the businesses listed on them. And of course it doesn't reflect all Black owned businesses across Iowa. So we've been pushing heavily. There is a link that you all will receive after this. And it is a link to the form that I would love, if you are not a Black owned business, for you to share with your networks. It is a form that we are asking Black entrepreneurs to go to complete. You'll also see that we are requesting either some type of image, whether it's a headshot or a logo, something that represents an image that represents your brand or business as you're doing this. So I've been seeing a lot more Black-owned businesses lately that are like, who can create a logo? I need a logo right now. I need this,
Yeah.
or I need headshots right now, so that people know, and also putting the face to the business and the brand. And so this is going to be the perfect opportunity to be recognized across the state, for folks to shop Black. This is that time to help reduce that gap, that wealth gap between Black and white business owners. And so I want you all, it is called the Black Iowa Business Directory. And it is a project by the Directors Council with the assistance of the Financial Empowerment Center. So I want you all to be on the lookout for it because it's coming, y'all. It's coming, and I want y'all to shop away, okay? So there's going to be information of the details, short description of the business, contact information, websites. It'll be one-stop shop. and we are super excited to launch it.
That's perfect. And everyone, you heard it here. I hope that all of you leave today with information of actually knowing how to move into action. So we're hearing, we're learning, we're also unlearning, but it is now what are you going to do with all of it? So Keisha has just provided literally a resource for if you are a Black-owned business owner, get on that site, get your name on there, get your logo on there, get your business on there. People will be able to find you. And as non-Black business owners or just community members on here, that is an actionable step for all of us to take to support not only Black-owned businesses, but Black lives. So that's the whole point of this webinar, is how to support Black lives and Black-owned businesses. So if we do like a quick summary of everything, shop Black, yes, but also know the person behind it. We provided the actionable step of the directory, and I'll be emailing the link after this webinar to make sure everyone has it. Even if you have friends who are unable to attend the webinar today, remember it is recorded and they'll receive a link as well as it'll be on our Iowa Center site. Does anyone else have questions?
As you're as you're all thinking about your questions and typing them in, I just want to add to the element of speaking out and taking action just a little bit, because we know with anything that we do that change happens through action. It's not, we have to get out of the mindset of let's keep talking about it, let's keep having the conversation, let's keep coming to the table if we aren't doing anything after we leave the table. And so we have to realize that we have to commit for the long haul when we're doing this and taking action. All right. So when we're thinking about it right now in the Black Lives Matter movement, when we're out here protesting and marching, we know that everyone doesn't have the ability to do that. Right? We think about different situations where you're not able to do that, but that's not all you can do. In addition to that, and so we've talked about utilizing social media for Black-owned businesses to promote themselves. We need to utilize social media also as our voices and to put these issues, these racial injustices in front of the people that we're connected to, right? And a lot of our people that we're connected to are actually friends and family, and in many instances, colleagues, right? So I would say amplify the movement on social media, engage that online community, use the trending hashtags, use hashtag Black Lives Matter, use the hashtag say his name, say her name, say their name. All right, so that you're a part of those conversations. And I also just want to say, use your voice to contact elected officials. Like I say, you don't have to physically be in the streets to help make change in the system itself. And so as I'm thinking about it, a member of city council, a congressperson, a caller, your state legislator, making those phone calls, take a look at the petitions that are flowing through social media of making change, these systemic changes in the systems, signing these petitions and writing letters to the editor, right? So there's so many things that you can literally be doing on the ground, that you can be doing at home, and constantly using your voice to lift the voices of Black lives.
Correct. And I think one of the things that I am thinking about now is if any of that made you feel nervous or hesitant, it's probably a sign that we need to learn. And we have some research to do. And I really like that there are those automated letters to politicians. Really love that.
Yes.
So it's an opportunity to see who your leaders are and to make sure that not only you, but your community is in full support of Black lives, because it ultimately goes around full circle of you're
Right.
supporting Black business owners.
Mm-hmm.
But Keisha, are you good with me dropping your business contact information in the chat?
Please do so.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
also include it in the email too.
Okay. Awesome.
And I can put your social media handles on there just so people can see how great you are at it.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Someone did ask,
And as
where
you,
to
oh, go
find
ahead.
petitions. So someone has asked where to find petitions. Was one of the links?
So yeah, I think one of the links, I'll have to double check, but we'll make sure that you all have the necessary links. I did send quite a few to Sierra for today's webinar. So we'll make sure that we're finding this. Experience fundraising, grant writing, businesses or nonprofits. Oh, yes. So I see Becca, assisting with grant writing and helping. So I told Sierra I was starting to list a bunch of organizations in Des Moines that help Black-owned businesses, start from the ground up, help through the development, all the way through, right? And so we're gonna make sure you have that list of organizations because you can actually work directly through them to assist.
Yep.
Yep.
Correct. So, for example, Becca, at the Iowa Center, we have an incredible pool of volunteers who are subject matter experts. So let's say in grants, where you are helping entrepreneurs where they are saying, I have this idea and I have no idea how to make it real. Or entrepreneurs who say, I've been in business for quite a while, but now I need help. So it is people like you, Becca, who the community needs. So it's a matter of just reaching out to the agencies who do provide that help, where you can join their pool of volunteers and their pool of experts. Katie has a great question as well. How do we go about encouraging the Black community to apply for positions within companies?
So Katie, that's a really great question because it also comes down to the hiring practices of those businesses. So as we have the conversations, in all of in every company that we work in, a lot of the companies that we work in, it's a lot of times it's trying to figure out, okay, we want we want to make our staff more diverse. We want to bring in more, Black staff, leadership roles, whatever that looks like. The first step is actually to take a step back to look at what hiring practices currently look like. Because I'll be real, I'm about as real as they come. Black people talk, right? So if someone is coming from an organization and they left, and part of that, their reasoning for leaving is the practices of that organization and the inequality within the organization. Folks talk. And so I think it's going to have to be you taking a step back. And even when you're thinking about what your hiring practices, not just your hiring practices, but what are the business practices in general? What does leadership look like within your companies? A lot of times it also takes bringing in an outside person to consult and to teach. And it can't be, we can't come from the first question of, it's almost like we can't even start with, how can we encourage Black people? It has to start with, okay, let's see what our practices currently look like. Are we truly serving Black people or people of color in the capacity that we're supposed to be? And so I would say that, Katie, to take that step back and figure out what practices truly look like for your company. And when you do that and I always say external, because a lot of times, you want a different mindset to come into your company. to tell you exactly what you're doing wrong. Someone that is not already living and breathing within your company. And from there, the teaching that will happen and how you could do that. That's a really great question.
It is a really great question. It made me think of our director recently shared that it's something to, it's just another way of like acting out and making sure that you're basically matching your words, right?
Yes.
And so when you are hiring, look for people who are different than you, who have different experiences, instead of someone who reminds you who you were when you were younger.
Right.
Instead of what you can give to this person, what can this person give to your organization?
Yeah, exactly.
So think of it like that. Keisha, do we have anything else, my friend? I feel like that hour went by.
It went by really fast. But no, if you have, anything specific for me after you walk away from this and you're thinking, just contact me. Let me know. I'd be happy to have that conversation. Any assistance, just shoot me a message.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for
having me. Really appreciate it. I'm sure you and I will connect soon.
Yes.
And then everyone, I'll be sending out an email here soon by the end of the day, for sure.
All righty. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Have a great day.